Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Made in the 518. I'm Lydia Kulbida, and I'll be looking for all the amazing people who make fantastic stuff in the capital region. Everything from food to art and everything in between. And we're going to begin talking with Amy Klein from Capital Roots because we're in the kitchen and we're going to talk about some people who are making tasty stuff in the capital region through your commercial kitchen.
That's right, yes. So Capital Roots has an incubator kitchen that has been in operation for 2 years. And it provides entrepreneurs with the opportunity to incubate their own food-based business or accelerate that business in one of our 5 incubator spaces. And it provides all the equipment as well as supports for folks to take their food-based business from idea to execution.
Now, Capital Roots, when we go back in your history, food has always been in the forefront. Let's take a little step back and learn more about how you started bringing fresh, healthy food to all people in the capital region.
Yeah, so Capital Roots, our roots are in food. We're a 50-year-old nonprofit that makes fresh, healthy food accessible and affordable to everyone in our region. We started out as a community gardening organization, a way for people to grow their own food, and we've expanded from there through our Veggie Mobile and other food access programs, our Good Food Market, ways for people to access good quality food from local producers at an affordable price. And that is really the essence of our work, the focus of our work, so that everyone can have access to really good food and be able to afford it and have it in their communities.
So that's how you got the history of food with Capital Roots. But then when it comes to commercial enterprises, you know, you're a nonprofit, but you're helping people become entrepreneurs, becoming businessmen and women. Because when it comes to a food-based business, even though people may say you make a tasty cupcake, you make a delicious barbecue sauce, you can't really ramp that up out of your home kitchen to something that you can make a living on.
Absolutely. And there are all kinds of requirements, you know, in terms of being able to sell products and needing a commercial kitchen. When we created the idea, when we knew we wanted to build a commercial kitchen, that was 20 years ago. And it was because there wasn't an adequate space for people to incubate their food-based business. And when it came time for us to execute on the kitchen, there still was not that adequate space. And because we as an organization value food and we value local, the idea meshed and we were able to execute on it and make it possible for others to share that dream.
Now, you make it easy for people to use your kitchen because it's not a 9-to-5 thing when somebody might be working their regular job before they can become a business person on the side. How do people get to use your kitchen?
Absolutely. So we have a full-time person that works with our kitchen users to get them set up, to orient them to the equipment, but people can use the kitchen anytime, any day that works for them through an online scheduling system and through a key fob access. So it's not just 9 to 5, it's not just Monday through Friday, it's when it works for the entrepreneur to be able to access the kitchen and all the services and hard equipment that the kitchen provides.
Because that really is the key. You know, somebody may want to start their own business and make things in the 518, but they have to have a regular job first, and they don't have the time to devote this. So if their time is at midnight, they could be in your kitchen.
Absolutely. And the other layer that we put into the kitchen opportunity is accessing local food for their products. So we work with about 75 different local farms and producers, and we're encouraging our kitchen entrepreneurs to purchase local food to incorporate into their products so that there's more local in the local.
Before we meet the 2 people who are going to tell us how they got started through your kitchen, how many people have gone through the kitchen? What kind of success rates are you seeing?
So we currently have 55 businesses incubating in our kitchen right now, and we're very pleased with the amount of use that the kitchen has. We also have a lot more capacity in the kitchen because of the nature of the 24-hour access. So for anyone who's interested interested, we certainly have capacity.
Okay, so we will definitely let everybody know in the final segment how they can sign up with you, Amy, and get into Capital Roots and start finding their inner Julia Child or whoever else may be lurking inside there, a baker, a pickle maker, a bao bun baker. That's who we're going to meet right after the break. Welcome back to Made in the 518, our first episode I'm calling Building a Tasty Business. And we are joined by two gentlemen who have built a tasty business right here in the Capital Region through the help of Capital Roots. We have Chris Doges from Kashuba's Pickling Company right here, as well as Ulysses Chen, who started the gluten-free bao company. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for this first episode of Made in the 518.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Now you both had help of going through the commercial kitchen of Capital Roots, but how did you start? Chris, we'll start with you on your pickling journey.
Well, through Capital Roots, we found them online. We're searching because when we decided, my wife and I decided to do a pickle company, we obviously had to produce them in a commercial kitchen. So we did a bunch of research and we found that Capital Roots was a better fit for us because they not only did they offer the kitchen, but they offered local produce. They also offered help with getting tips on LLC stuff going. All sorts of stuff that they offer, so it was really beneficial for us. So.
Because I'm sure, everybody who makes food at home and you've got that one specialty, or maybe more than one specialty, like in your case, pickles, how long have you been pickling and people have been telling you should do something with that?
It was probably a couple years ago. It was about 2 years. Last year is when we started the process, but probably about 2 years before that is when I started actually making my own pickles, just because I wasn't happy with the national chain pickles, and then a lot of the local ones were good, but they weren't very consistent. So we decided, just start making our own. And then, once I came up with this current recipe, my wife's like, "Yeah, that's the one. We should sell these." And I was like, "Yeah, And then, of course, my mother tried them. She loved them. My friends tried them. Of course, everybody was partial, So then she ended up talking me into doing the Rosendale Festival down in New Paltz, and then we ended up winning first place with our dill.
Wow.
So that was like, okay, maybe we got something here. So we decided to go for it, and that was October 2024. And then so we put the pedal to the metal, and what was it, next 2025 of about April-ish, we ended up getting our LLC, and then mid-July is when we got everything set with the Capital Roots, and I was able to start producing.
So tell us a little bit about the history of the name of your company.
Originally I wanted to use my last name, Doges, but nobody can pronounce it. So
yeah, I did have to ask you a few times.
Yeah. So I think there's only 3 people in my life that didn't know me, could pronounce it. Since we were using my grandmother's bread and butters, her married last name was Kashuba, so we decided to go with that. And of course, I tested that with all my friends, asked to see if they could pronounce it, and it went over well. So. Yeah,
that's a key thing to make sure that you can say the name of the product.
Absolutely.
Now, Ulysses, I butchered the name bao when I first introduced you, but how did you come about wanting to make a gluten-free version?
So back in 2012, I developed a sensitivity to gluten. And that was really devastating for me because I love to eat, and I love to eat Asian food as well. I grew up on Asian food, but at the time there was no real good alternatives for Asian food that was gluten-free. So my wife, Chrisana, is an amazing chef and baker, and she actually spent the next few years recreating some of my favorite foods in gluten-free form, and one of her biggest successes was the gluten-free bao. And she did that in 2018, and we're thinking, this is great, this is indistinguishable from the real thing, and we should sell this. But we both had full-time jobs at the time, and so that just went to the back burner. And then COVID hit, and then at the end of 2023, I lost my job, and we took that as a sign that I should maybe.
Now's the time to make that leap.
Yeah, just like a good sign to explore alternative careers.
How did you come to meet or learn about Capital Roots and their commercial kitchen?
Well, just like with Chris, it was through a Google search. I was looking for commercial kitchens, and The great thing about New York City is that they have a home processor exemption for things like baked goods like baos. So I was able to, for the first year of our company to sell out of our home kitchen. But I knew if I wanted to sell outside of New York, I needed to get into a commercial kitchen. And so that's why I started searching around. Capital Roots was one of the first things that came up. And I went there, I toured the facility, I interviewed with them, and it looked like a perfect fit, mainly because it was the flexible hours, the facilities were great. They had all the equipment I needed. And so, yeah, and then a year after we started the company, I moved in there, and now we're selling nationwide.
That is incredible. Now, you do a lot of your selling through online ordering, but Chris, you're also in local supermarkets, and I think that's one of the things you guys started talking about, how to then amp up and increase, and you guys are even learning from each other just meeting here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did that work, getting into the supermarkets? How hard is that?
It's just, hit the ground and, present them with the product and tell your story, and, hopefully, luckily everybody so far has liked them, so it hasn't been too difficult, but.
So locally, where are you available now?
We're in 9 stores right now.
Okay.
And then, so locally, you can check us out on Facebook, you can see all wherever we're at. But.
And so you're now worried about the next step, growing, to make sure that you can still keep the consistency that you're making of these pickles right now on a much larger basis.
Right.
What would that take?
Yeah. Of course, consistency is very important for us, and of course we're small batch, so. Making sure, I think, each vendor, store we get, we're pushing our limits a little bit, so we're learning that. And I think once I get to that magical number, then I can go full time with pickles, but for now, yeah.
So Ulysses, with you, what's your next step in trying to ramp up on getting your nationwide when it comes to delivery, but getting into more local stores?
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to discuss with Chris is like how to get into local stores like the co-ops and the grocery stores. Right now we are exclusively mail order. We do sell at the Good Food Market in Troy, so you can actually buy our stuff in store there. But yeah, right now we're primarily to individuals, and we've actually got some large orders from some hotel chains that apparently are interested in selling gluten-free baos or serving gluten-free baos at their hotels.
That's amazing. And you're right. When you get that right recipe, you can't tell something that's gluten-free from something that has gluten. And that's that magic sweet spot where you're like, okay, I can deal with my gluten intolerance or sensitivities and still enjoy the foods that I grew up on.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I made this leap is also because being gluten-free for so long, I knew the deficiencies in the market. As far as I know, we're the only gluten-free bao available in the United States for sale. So when people look for a gluten-free bao, we're basically the first thing that comes up.
That's great. So that's what they're looking for, but the next step when it comes to you're making a product in the 518, you want to sell it wider, advertising, how does that go for you guys?
Yeah.
The social media aspect, is that helpful?
Yeah. So far, of course, we've been using just basically Facebook. Like I said, going too far without, being able to do it full time is tough. We want to make sure we can handle all the stores properly, and it's quite a bit right now, just with 9, in a full-time job that we're both doing. So. And
this is what's been great about the Capital Roots is that they have, they're affiliated with Community Loan Fund. They have actually some of the people in the kitchen are social media backgrounds, so they've been great for advice. So I've been picking their brain for, they got me on a regular schedule for social media posts, which I was struggling with at first. And then again, like the Community Loan Fund, they have people who give you advice on HR, payroll, stuff like that. So that's all stuff that I need to explore in the very, very near future.
Right, because you can be a great pickler, you can be a great baker, but now you also have to be a great business person to get it up to that next level. So we're going to bring Amy back in for the last segment as we pick up. I'll invite you gentlemen to join me picking up a pickle. We'll take a bite, and on this tasty bite, we'll see you right after the break to let you know how you too can make a tasty business in the Capital Region. Welcome back to Made in the 518, Building a Tasty Business. And we brought back Capital Roots CEO Amy Klein with two of the gentlemen who have built businesses out of her commercial kitchen. And tell us, how can people get in touch with you? And they are watching this at home saying, I've got a great product that I too want to make in the commercial kitchen.
Yeah, so anyone can get in touch with Capital Roots and contact us through, we have a dedicated kitchen person who can talk you through, take you on a tour like these guys got, and find out all the deets. You can Google us, and obviously we come up. And you know, it's not just about kitchen space, it's about all those wraparound services that Ulysses and Chris were talking about, the business planning, the marketing assistance, you know, a full array of you know, equipment, as well as the small wares that you need. And you know, we're really there to support our entrepreneurs beyond just the equipment.
So as we put up the information for how people can contact you, they may also be thinking, so what do I have to pay for this? What's the cost for me?
So it varies. There's a small membership fee, an annual membership fee, and then there are hourly fees, and that depends on how much you're using the kitchen. So Chris is about to hit the high point in terms of using our highest plan, and that means his hourly fee comes down.
No.
So the more you use the kitchen, the lower the hourly fee is. And then there's also, you know, cold storage, freezer space, dry storage, all of these other things. And the other thing that both these guys mentioned is the opportunity to sell their product in our market, in the Good Food Market at 598 River Street. So that's a great way to get your product on the shelf, to have people be able to interact with your product. And the Good Food Market also has an opportunity for people that are not making a specific product, but maybe are catering or doing an interactive food business. And so there's an opportunity for people to trial their business in that way and sell directly to the public, whatever it is they're making.
I'm a huge supporter of small local businesses, buying local, shopping local. So yeah, and anyone watching this who's a foodie and considers themselves
Absolutely.
a Capital Region foodie, your store then is the place to go to try all these unique new local businesses.
Absolutely, yes.
So Chris and Ulysses, as you were getting into the pipeline with the community kitchen over at Capital Roots, what difficulties did you find that if somebody watching this says, I want to try it, what difficulties did you find that could help someone maybe avoid that mistake?
Yeah, so just to add to what she was saying here when I was looking it up, the price point was very reasonable it was the best that I found. But also, like I said, everything when you need help with all the logistics of the state regulations and everything, they're there to help you. So that they made it so easy. So it was just as long as you do your homework and do all your research and then get the assistance from a place like this, you'll be.
So there were never any pickle emergencies?
No. Everything's been pretty smooth as far as like I said, New York's tough with all the regulations, which is good. But
right,
like
we want to make sure that what we're eating is not going to make us sick.
Yeah, and a lot of commercial kitchens we looked at, it was just rent the space and that's it, and that's all they offered. But like I said, they offer help with everything as far as
How about you, Ulysses? Any mistakes in the beginning that you wish you could avoid?
Yeah, well, actually, I did have some issues when I first started out because it was commercial equipment which I wasn't used to. Up until that point, I'd been making my baos in our home kitchen, which the commercial equipment is definitely very different. And one of the nice things about Capital Roots is that they give you a trial period where you can test out the commercial kitchen equipment and see how to adapt your recipe to that. But in addition to that, the kitchen lead was great. I was having some inconsistencies with my initial products, and the kitchen lead was great, giving me advice and suggestions on how to brainstorm solutions to it. So, and I can honestly say that without that kitchen lead, I would not have been able to get the consistency and the quality I have right now.
That is fantastic,
Very
Amy. I
helpful.
think that's the best that you can hear is
Yes.
And that's amazing that you have dozens of small business owners just like Chris and Ulysses that have gotten their start in your kitchen.
And this is why we created this kitchen. This is exactly why. To hear these kinds of things is just makes me sing, makes my heart sing. Yeah.
So if someone is sitting at home right now, Chris and Ulysses, and they want to try it, and they think that they've got whether the product that's not out there yet or a product that there might be a lot of competition for in that particular item, what advice would you give them?
Go for it. Yeah. Go for it.
Well, I did not have any background in the food industry, and so when I first started this out, I had no idea what I was doing, and I got some great advice to take an entrepreneur boot camp at the local Capitol, was it the Chamber of Commerce. And I gotta say, I mean, do something like that. They help you build a business plan. They help you, I guess, give you a crash course in regulations and basically all the advice you would need. And I would say if you're not familiar with the industry, definitely look into something like that. There's a lot of resources here in New York. There's got the Chamber of Commerce. You've got Small Business Development Center. It's definitely something I would have been lost without.
And you also have another level for your business because you ship nationwide.
Yes.
So do you end up going to the post office like with a carload of boxes?
Yes, sometimes I do. The biggest order I had was actually, I had an order of 2,000
Oh my goodness.
to Las Vegas. And that was, the Capitol Roots was great for that because there's no way I've been able to fill that at home. And honestly, I couldn't ship out outside New York. So, it's all been very useful.
I got to say, when you talk about ramping things up to a commercial kitchen size, I used to make pierogies with my church in South Troy, and yeah, I know that a 50-pound bag of potatoes can make 70 dozen pierogies because, but when somebody asked me what's the recipe, and I was like, I don't know how to scale it back down. So once you've gotten it back up to your ginormous size now, can you go home and just make a small batch for yourself at home?
I actually, yes, I have what I call heirloom bows, which I bring back home. The ones that are not quite perfect shape or size, but yes, I have plenty of bows left over from the kitchen.
So is there anything else that you guys want to talk about that maybe I haven't asked you about as we close out this look at your journey from becoming, just a baker or a pickler in your own home to being all known throughout the Capital Region?
No, just appreciate the opportunity for everything, and like I said, for the kitchen has been a huge help for us, and helping us get our goals and going forward.
I would say, yeah, if you have a product that you really believe in, then I'd say just go for it. I mean, it's scary at first. Definitely very scary at first, but it's worth it.
So then, how did you get over that fear?
Just go for it. That's what
you keep saying that. I keep saying that, and somebody at home is now going to go for it. But how did you get over the fear?
I had a lot of support from my wife, and again, I did have belief in our product. And like I said, I've been gluten-free for a long time. I've seen the deficiencies in the market, and and it's been a way for me to exercise my creativity too that I couldn't in my previous job.
Yes, so wife support is definitely there, and then believing in your product, is huge, But
I know both of you gentlemen believe in your products. Amy, you believe in them and in all the makers that you have in your kitchen.
Absolutely, and I will say not everybody has been successful. It takes a lot of hard work, determination, and having a good product, and also being willing to adapt. I think that's really critical, whether it's adapting a price point or whether it's, adapting to whatever the market is interested in. We've had people that have had products that just weren't really good, and they've changed the recipe, modified things, and so, sometimes you have to bend a little bit to get your product.
You have to listen to that feedback from everybody around you.
Yeah.
All right, good advice. Thank you so much. Chris Doges from Kashuba's Pickling Company, Ulysses Chen from the Gluten Free Bao Company, and Amy Klein, CEO of Capital Roots. Thank you all for joining me
Thank you.
for the first ever episode of Made in the 518. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Thanks so much for joining us for the first ever episode of Made in the 518. And if you make something in the 518 or know of some local business that could use the support and a shout out, contact me, LKULBIDA at news10.com. And as I like to end each episode with a little quote, this one, since we started in the kitchen, is going to be from Julia Child. The more you know, she said, the more you can create. And there's no end to imagination in the kitchen. I'm Lydia Kulbida. Thanks for joining me for Made in the 518.